My name is Melissa Stoker. You have probably been getting emails from me. I'm the operations coordinator for our leadership team at Keller Williams Legacy in Towson. And so basically, what does that mean? It basically means that I help with onboarding all of our new agents. So when they come into the market center, I'm helping them get set up with everything in terms of our association and Bright MLS and everything like that. And then I'm also responsible for kind of keeping our training going. So getting our calendars planned and all of that stuff so that we have this robust education that's available to everyone. So that's kind of my role. And I actually am brand new to this role. I started in July. I'm coming from an admissions background at a Maryland State University. So I've been in education for about 7 years. So even though I haven't come from real estate, I come from an education background. So training and this kind of thing is really part of what I'm super excited about. So that's my story. I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Rachel, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. As she said, I'm Rachel Wobrak. I am a new member of the Keller Williams Legacy team as well. I just started, 6 weeks ago, I think it is. I'm a new coach. It's crazy to realize what I've learned in those 6 weeks and how quickly I'm kind of jumping into real estate, and it's so much fun. And I'm so glad that you're here to learn some things with us. My background is also in education. Most recently, I came from the University of Maryland, where I worked in the University Career Center. So I have a long history. I was there for 11 years of presenting and helping people with their careers and working one-on-one and coaching students in this case. But I'm really excited to kind of have new information to impart and to share with this new role. And so glad that you're here with us this evening. As Melissa mentioned, if you have questions as we go through this, feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat. It's great that there's two of us because we can kind of help keep an eye on that. And if there's a pressing question that I'm not seeing because I'm rattling off something, she'll make sure she lets me know. But really excited that you're here tonight. Tonight's topic is lead generation is the core of your business. I'm sure lead generation this is not the first time that you've heard that, even besides last night, and you know what important part of your real estate business it is. We're going to kind of dive into it. Do you want to move to the next slide? Thank you. Okay, so you probably also saw this slide last night. The two things that successful agents do every day, growing their business and running their business, and the different ways that you could potentially do that underneath. You're going to see this at the beginning of every Ignite session. If we go to the next slide, you'll see what we're going to focus on specifically this evening. And as I mentioned, that's going to be lead generate for buyers and sellers. We're going to talk about the lead generation model. This is really important because this is what allows you to launch into all of the other grow and run business topics that were on that previous slide. Without lead generation, you can't do all those other things. Alrighty, so this page right here, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the lead generation model, but it also showed some of the other things that we're going to get into this evening as far as database, sales pipeline, and recap and do ahas and things like that. Great, thanks, Melissa. You can move to next. Yep, perfect. Okay, so this is the lead generation model. You might have seen this before. If not, that's okay. We're going to dive into this a lot. This is just kind of the big picture of what it looks like as a whole. Understanding the lead generation model is what's going to provide a larger vision of the interconnected tasks and habits that are going to help to fund your big why. It's important to understand how all this works together, but seeing it also as the big picture first, I think is really helpful before we dive into these things. Basically, each of these pieces and how we move through the model is going to get to the ultimate goal, right, of achieving those closed contracts, right? Going to a closing, helping a buyer find a home, or helping a seller successfully sell their home and close. You can see how each of the within the big picture, how each of these tasks is going to help you achieve that. Closed contracts are going to help you then achieve, of course, your financial goals. And again, coming back to funding that big why that you have. You can see how your business could be affected if you're not diligent about each piece of this model and how it flows through. And of course, once we've gotten to that point where we're closing the contact, you can see that arrow that brings them right back up to the top. So nurturing that, maybe you just help them buy a home, nurturing and keeping that relationship. So that way you can hopefully maybe help them sell that home down the road or buy a new home or a second home. And we're going to kind of dive into these things this evening. I know that this was a kind of a big overview. Are there any initial questions before we kind of talk about this in greater detail and kind of break it down a little bit? All right, I take that as a no for now. All righty. So the lead generation model, this is a little closer up that you're seeing here, is backed by research. That research then was conducted and put into the second edition of the Millionaire Real Estate book. That's what's often referred to as the Red Book. Today, the discussion is going to focus on this model for a solo agent. This model is made up of 3 phases, as you can see. There are lead generation activities at the top. There's database activities in the middle, and then sales pipeline activities. The top part of this model is what we often talk about as lead generation. This is the part of the model where you're generating leads, right? This is where your marketing helps you attract leads that you seek out. Prospecting is where you go out and find those leads. Not only you're working to get new leads, but also working to get new repeat and referral business from your sphere of influence. I think that's something that you probably talked about last night, sphere of influence being those people that you already know, friends or family, people that you can tap into that you already know potentially for leads or contacts. All right, part 2 with working with their database. This is where we see leads and contacts. Leads and contacts are broken into different parts of your database because you'll be working with them and communicating with them in slightly different ways. They're working to stay on top of mind, have conversations, different touches or activities depending on if they were a lead or a contact. The difference between a lead and a contact: a lead might be you're given someone's name and phone number that you're told might be interested in selling a home. And so you have that one-way conversation where you reach out to them. A contact is when you have a two-way conversation and they are reaching back out to you to have a conversation. So it's a more interactive piece. All right, let's see. All right, part 3, the sales pipeline. This is where you're going to cultivate those leads that turn into contacts. And whether they're willing to buy a home or sell a home right now, keeping them cultivated and nurturing that so that eventually you can get them to the point where they want to set an appointment with you and move forward with some kind of real estate activity and hiring you to do either help them buy or sell a home. And then from there, we get into the appointment, them being active, whether they're actively looking for a home or actively listing their home, getting them under contract, and then of course closing them. And again, we mentioned then they come right back in as a contact and get pulled back into that funnel to help you get more future business down the road. All right, so now we're going to kind of jump into lead generation. You can move to the next slide. We're going to look a little closer at this rather than the larger. So as you can see, prospecting and marketing are the 2 pieces that we start with to help generate leads. This is the life of your business. This is something that should never stop. It's something that you're constantly doing to continue to bring in more business. It's purposeful and intentional. It's going to move you closer to your goal. That's part of your larger strategy. So with prospecting, this is the active piece, right? Prospecting is where maybe you're going to an open house and talking to people that are coming in, looking at a home and think they're ready to buy, but maybe don't have an agent yet. This is calling people in your sphere of influence. This could be hosting a first-time homebuyers event and taking names and emails or phone numbers to contact them later. This is a more active piece. Marketing could be, of course, a lot of different things. It could be doing social media posts. It could be sending out postcards to a specific neighborhood. But the marketing piece is going to be a more passive piece. of your lead generation. Prospecting is going out. It's specifically trying to reach out to people and make contact and connect, and connections to communication. Marketing is kind of like sending it out and hoping someone sees it and hoping they reach out to you, right? Where prospecting is doing a little bit more of the reaching out yourself. So we often talk about how lead generation should be based on prospecting and enhanced with marketing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that too in a little bit. And now I want to take a minute to ask if anyone on the call would like to share, maybe one or two, how do you think agents that perform at a high level successfully use lead generation?
I'll go.
Great.
Typically, they are consistent with their lead generation and using the systems. They set times, they put it on their schedule to do what they want to see as far as the results. Consistency. Yeah.
I love that. I love that a lot. Thank you, Michelle. I love that you mentioned consistency. You didn't say it in the exact words, but setting time or time blocking, making sure that's an important part of your day, right? I love it. I love it. Great. Anyone else have anything they want to share for that one?
We can be super patient tonight too. So one more person. We have learned patience.
One more. How do you think agents that perform at a high level successfully use lead generation? Don't erase it, replace it. What does that mean?
Well, Christina really is family.
Hi, this is Lakia. So I was gonna say one thing that I've seen is that they have a continual like mailer or sorry, that's my son in the background. But they have like a mailer or flyer, and then they send out something like pretty much every 90 to 60 days in order to try to get those folks or get somebody that they know kind of a part of their lead generation.
Awesome. I love that. Love it. Thank you. And it's totally okay if you want to mute yourself and there's noise in the background. Like, part of the reason we're doing it at night, right? Because we're busy people and we're not always available during the day. A lot of you, I'm sure, are dual career. I get that. You never know. At some point, you may hear my cat. If she decides she's hungry, I did feed her. Don't listen to what she tells you. But sometimes, you know, if she thinks I'm not paying attention, there is a chance you will hear her later. That's totally fine. We are here to share things. Also okay if you're somewhere where you can't unmute. And if you want to share in the chat, that's great too. Oh, I think Blair replied. It means if something, I was reading because Blair said in the chat, don't erase it, replace it. And she says, it means if something truly important comes up, and you have to do something else during lead gen, then you have to do it later. Replace your normal time slot. Oh, I love it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's great. Yeah, if something like emergency comes up during, maybe emergency is a bit extreme, but if something else that comes up that has to happen at the time you were going to lead gen, making sure that you just move lead gen to another time. I think that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know when Melissa and I were talking about speaking tonight about lead gen, there were some things that we learned last week in the Triple Year of Business Love Your Life session that Jason Abrams did. Did anybody go to that at Turf Valley in Ellicott City? Last Friday. It was really good. If you went, hopefully you learned a lot too. If you did go, I'm sorry, because I'm going to repeat a couple of the suggestions that he had for lead generation. He talked about different ways to lead generate, because lots of times we hear lead generation, besides calling your sphere of influence, can also be thought of as cold calling. And some people feel comfortable doing that. And some people like, oh my gosh, the last thing I'm going to do is call someone I don't know and ask them for business. And I get that, because that is one of the reasons I personally am not an agent, because that's something that I don't necessarily see as my strength. But he kind of said, like, if there's something that you don't like, that shouldn't be part of your lead generation. So finding new ways to do that and take things that you do like and using that to create lead generation. So one example that he gave was this woman who really enjoyed tennis. And so she started reaching out to friends, other women that she thought might be interested in playing tennis as well. And so she got to the point where she was reserving tennis courts, multiple tennis courts, like 2 days a week, and inviting friends and telling them to invite friends. And her first point of contact was sending an email when she had this group of people saying, all right, I'll bring tennis balls, I'll have water, I'll have orange slices, just bring your racket and we'll come together and we'll play. Second point of contact, they're all there, everyone's playing, hanging out. You're able to chat. She could, when you get to that point, you're introducing yourself. What do you do? Oh, I'm a real estate agent, right? The chance to introduce herself and what she does. She's providing a value to them because she's set up and organized this chance for them to all come and play tennis. And then a third point of communication that she had afterwards was following up with them, letting them know like who won or who came out or when the next time would be, saying how much fun it was and hope they could come again. And so now she's taken something maybe that she didn't like originally, maybe she was doing, cold calls and things like that, and turned it into something she enjoyed. She got to play tennis and get to know women because as people played, they brought their friends and their friends might have brought friends. And so she got to know so many more people. And now if she makes a call, they're no longer unknown to her. Or potentially she has some of those conversations on the court or on the sidelines afterwards, right? And kind of grew her business that way. He also mentioned that this same woman also really likes shopping. And so she developed a shopping club that like met in the mall and talked about what they wanted to go, like maybe met at a coffee shop, talked about what they wanted to go out. They all went out and went shopping and then came back and like compared what they found. So, you could really kind of take a lot of different interests and kind of make lead generation fun. As I mentioned, one of the things that I thought of coming in was like, oh, I couldn't be an agent because I wouldn't want to make calls. But one of the things that I've learned as, I've talked to other agents is like doing presentations, whether it's a first-time home buyer or something. Like I've done presentations for many, many years now. And it's like, that's something that comes a little bit more easily to me. And so doing that and using that as a ways of saying, I'm going to provide this value and this information, and then maybe I'll get some contacts in it, would be something that if I were an agent, I think I would do, because that would be helpful to me and would feel more comfortable to me. So finding what you enjoy and what you like could be a way to prospect and get contacts and be a little bit more comfortable with it, or something that you enjoy. So it's not a chore. So it's something you want to do, right? So that way you can love what you're doing. I'm trying to think. Other examples that he gave, a more amusing one, he said that if you haven't talked to a divorce attorney in the last week, that you were doing something wrong, because unfortunately not most people's favorite time in their life. It is a time when real estate changes a lot. So somebody could be moving out of a home, or two people could be selling and moving out and need new homes. Potentially divorce attorneys could be someone who could refer someone to you if they have a client that finds themselves needing to get into a new home, right? When they need someone to help list the home before they're moving into other homes. Also working with other agents in other areas. And so having referrals set up. Hopefully, that you can use Command to go in and connect with other agents in other areas. You can, find agents in popular areas that you think people want to move to. So if you have someone that you meet and they say they want to move to Arizona, that you have someone in Arizona that you can refer this business to, or likewise get to know people maybe in some surrounding states. People that tend to move to Maryland or DC, they're probably going to be people from Virginia or Pennsylvania or New Jersey, maybe reaching out to some of those agents and maybe they can refer business to you. These could be other ways to prospect and get leads in slightly different ways.
I did want to just add, the last time we did Ignite in our market center a couple weeks ago, we actually had someone who went to the first day of Ignite, and that night she went home and posted in the Nextdoor app. So there's Nextdoor for all these towns all over the country. And she posted and she said, "Hi, I'm a real estate agent. I have contacts all over the country. So if you are looking, you or someone you know is looking for a house in another state, let me know and I'll refer you to someone within KW who's really good." And she actually got a referral within the next day. And so she was like, "I have to learn how to use the referral system now." And she knew she was going to interview the agents that she chose because she knew she wanted to connect them with people who were good, because that also affects her own reputation, is that she connected with someone who was helpful for those people. So that referral thing is super powerful, especially if you're like a newer agent and maybe you're not quite comfortable with doing things just yet, but you want to start making some money. The referral can be a great place to start. And I think that was kind of her pathway. So we saw that literally just a couple weeks ago. So definitely very powerful.
Yes. Thank you for remembering that, because her coming in the next day and telling us that like amazed me. And I've used that example with other people and I forgot to use it tonight. So I love
it. It was like standing ovation. Everyone's so excited for her. That's awesome.
Maybe when like go on Nextdoor and like immediately like, "Hey, do you need an agent?"
Exactly, because I know 300.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Do you want to move to the next slide for me? Yes, perfect. Okay. So again, we talk about it being prospecting based and marketing enhanced. Why? So we have the prospecting right down here at the bottom. It's the base. This is the part that's going to be time intensive. It's harder sometimes because you have to be more proactive, but it can have immediate results, right? If I call up my aunt and say, "Hey, you know that I'm working for Keller Williams right now. Do you, are you thinking about, do you have anybody in mind?" This is not how I would do the script. This is very off the cuff at the moment, not great. But it's my aunt, so I could do that with her. But I would say, "Hey, do you know anybody that needs a real estate agent right now?" She could tell me, "Oh yeah, so-and-so down the street just told me they're looking." You can get immediate results. Marketing, probably not immediate. Going to be a little bit more long-term unless your ad hits the right person at exactly the right moment, right? But it can help kind of build people and maybe kind of trickle people in down the road. It is more passive. It also can be money intensive. So maybe it doesn't take as much time to do, but it can cost you more money, where a lot of these lead gen activities can be inexpensive or in some cases, free opportunities that you can do. We dropped into the chat earlier the link to the folder for this week. If you look at the participant guide on page 6, you'll find a comprehensive list of different prospecting and marketing activities that you can use in the future. It's certainly not exhaustive, but it's a pretty good list of different methods, practices, ideas that you can do that you can bring in, use to bring in leads into your business. There are broad categories of both prospecting and marketing to choose from, even though a variety of factors, the market, the agent's preferences, your budget and goals will dictate the type of sources that you'll want to use. It is best practice to be prospecting based and again, marketing enhanced. As I mentioned, marketing, it's more indirect. It should attract leads and support and enhance your prospecting conversations that you're already having. So an example of that could be sending a direct mail advertisement or door knocking, and then leveraging the material with a follow-up conversation. Prospecting, of course, is more proactive, as we said, and direct. Keeps you active versus reactive. It's the actively searching out your leads. It allows you to focus on proactive customer creation activities that will be critical to your ability to hit your numbers when the market shifts and you're in a period when marketing efforts don't generate enough leads. So right now, marketing leads, in some cases, buying might be easier to find because interest rates are low, but in a time when they're harder to find, these are ways that you're going to be able to build up and kind of keep them coming in. Okay, so this is where I'm going to ask people to share again. Why do you think it is best to be prospecting based and marketing enhanced versus the other way around?
And I'm watching the chat. So if you can't come off mic, I know a couple people had said, I can't come off mic, so that's fine. So I'm watching the chat for your answers too. So I'll say them out loud. But yeah, I do expect you all to see my cat run around the back at some point too. So no worries there.
Jump in. I mean, for the most part, I feel like you did kind of already go over it. It's like it's very proactive. And of course you don't want to just be putting out a bunch of money, and you kind of want, results quicker rather than long term. But yeah, I think that the fact that it's very proactive and you're not, waiting for it to basically come your way is one of the major reasons why prospecting is a pro over doing it, just marketing. But you still need the marketing part, because even though that you're, doing some direct things, just by sending out a mailer or whatever, you don't know actually who, well, in a sense you do kind of know who's going to hit, but you don't ever know when that person may have the time, like, okay, let me pick up the phone and give her a call because she sent something in the mail. But at the time when she maybe was knocking on my door, I wasn't ready. But since she sent it in the mail as a follow-up, I'm gonna give her a call when I have a moment.
I love that. Thank you. I'm also loving the chat, and it feels very like relationship and personal, focused. And I love that. Being able to
seems like
directly with people, build relationships. Love this. Love this. Great. Thank you. Alrighty. So I also want to ask, you've seen the list. Hopefully you've been able to go to the folder and see page 6 where it lists all the different kinds. So feel free to look at that if you want, or to come up with your own. But I'm curious if 2 people want to share, either out loud or in the chat. I guess if it's in the chat, we can have more than 2. But if 2 people want to share what you've done, maybe rather than just calling sphere of influence, like what are some things that you've done for lead generation, or if it's not something you've done, what's something that you're hoping to do, maybe that's new or different to lead generate.
I'll go again. I'll go again. And the reason is because we did have the first class of Ignite yesterday, and I know that she spoke about the 10-4. So I did say that I was going to try to stay on top of that. So I did I attempted to do it. So I, of course, went through my phone. I got 10 contacts. I reached out to them.
Awesome.
But I've also dived into the MLS and tried to go through some of the expireds. The issue that I've been kind of running into is just kind of getting the contact number so that I can do cold calling. Now, cold calling is not something I really enjoy doing it, but I said I had to step out of my comfort zone because, sometimes that's almost like that limiting belief type thing. So, just me stepping out of my comfort zone and trying to do something that I don't necessarily enjoy doing or am used to doing will more than likely open some other doors, that I haven't walked through before. So that's a few things that I've been doing.
Awesome. Great. I'm glad that you were inspired by yesterday's Ignite. That's exactly what we want to hear.
Yeah. And then we have a couple people in the chat. Larry said he wants to take the divorce attorney golfing, which I think is fantastic. It kind of marries the two of like, no pun intended, marries the two. But it kind of takes both of those pieces together. And then I see Catherine said she wants to do volunteering and rugby and military spouse events. I think that's fantastic. Something that was going through my head when Jason Abrams was speaking about these different events that you like doing or activities you like doing was that, like, if you've all heard of Meetup before, it's Meetup groups, meetup.com. You can start your own groups like this. So if you wanted to start a rugby team, or if you wanted to start a military spouse group, then you automatically have this audience of people who can find you naturally. And it's just, I feel like it would be such a great way to kind of get all those people rather than just like posting on Facebook or something. So if you're looking for a place to organize that, I would highly recommend Meetup groups. That's a good way to go.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think these are all great. When it's thinking about an activity you love, like I was thinking about this when he was going over it, and I was like, okay, I like sports. That seems like kind of obvious. But then I was like, well, I also like to travel. I was like, well, I don't know any agent that has, I'm sure there are some agents that have the budget to help people travel with them. I don't. And I was like, well, maybe you could do a meetup group like Melissa was doing to talk about travel or where you want to go. Or I also really like to see musicals, and like whether it's in New York or at the Kennedy Center or wherever. So could definitely think about some groups where we just get together and like talk about those things, or ones we've seen. But
Yeah,
Hopefully
maybe the value that you bring is not paying for it for them, but you're organizing it. You're the one who buys the tickets with the funds you put together. You find the discounts or work with the travel agents, whatever it is, so that you're still bringing value, but you're not burdened with all of the cost.
I love this, Melissa. We're going to turn me into an agent yet.
Someone, Catherine, in the group, I mean, in the chat mentioned volunteering, which that is something that I'm trying to jump back into, but that's like a perfect idea. And my market center is actually having like a shred event, but it's perfect because I don't know if I'm going to start door knocking. So I feel like you, not only are you giving back, you're also door knocking. You're also trying to do like you kind of do a few things and like at the same time. So I feel like volunteering, because once you get like a flyer or whatever together, you can obviously give out your flyer, but also have your contact information on the back as well, and let them know like, hey, I also, so I'm also an agent and I can assist you with any of your real estate needs.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I like the idea of a book club. I also like to read, Lydia. So doing a book club would be great. Getting people that want to discuss a book and also talk about other things. I think that's a great idea.
The other thing I would add is if you're doing things like volunteering, or if you're doing things like actually going to events where you like, I know, for example, Alana from last night used to volunteer at wine festivals, and she would wear a t-shirt that said something like cocktails and contracts. And it just starts a conversation naturally, like, oh, what's your shirt? And then she could say, oh, I'm a real estate agent. Or we have people in our market center who wear shirts that says I'm a real estate agent or something, and they just wear it everywhere. Or they'll wear their name tag everywhere, just like, oh, I forgot to take that off. But really, it's a natural way of showing people without even having to say anything. So definitely, if you're going to be doing those things in the community, that's a great way to be subtle about it.
Yeah, because to that point, I know Alana said there was someone who used to wear it when she went grocery shopping. And so like waiting in the line to get checked out, there was one time that she like managed to get a lead or maybe 2 leads or something, just standing in line waiting to buy her groceries. So if you can do it that easily, it's not going to work every time, but if you happen to come across the right person at the right time and they see it, that's so easy, right? That would be amazing. Great. So it is best to be prospecting based and marketing enhanced. We talked because it can be very cost effective. When you are prospecting based, you are having conversations and building connections within your database. Like a lot of you mentioned in the chat, building those relationships. I know that's something that I really enjoy and most agents enjoy, because if you didn't, why would you be doing this, right? It's all about relationships. And when you're prospecting, you can determine the climate in certain geographical areas. So if you decide to specifically geofarm a specific area, you can be the expert in that neighborhood and provide that value to people when you're an agent for them. So great things to think about. We've been talking about lead gen. You did it last night. You know that you're not going to get out of doing it tonight either, especially when we're talking about it. So we are going to give you some time now. You can, simply mute yourself. If you're going to be sitting near your computer, you may want to turn off the sound on your computer, because there's a chance Melissa and I may talk a little bit during this time while you're lead generating. So if you don't want to hear us, feel free to turn off the sound on your computer, ignore us, or turn it down. But what do you think, Melissa? Looking at what time, it's 6:37. Should we do 15 minutes of lead generation?
Yeah, sure.
10 minutes? What do you think?
Let's do 10 minutes.
Okay.
I think that would be good. And then we still are, we're only about halfway through, so you definitely want to come back. So make sure if you're going to turn your sound off, maybe set a reminder for yourself to come back within 10 minutes so that you can pick up where we left off. But yeah, I think 10 minutes is good.
Perfect. Great. So please head off, do some lead generation. We're hoping that you'll come back and tell us all your successes. I know at least one success story from last night, so I would like to hear some from you when we come back. Okay.
And that'll be at 6:48.
Yes.
So it is 6:48. So we will go ahead and bring everyone back. I do want to just, I have something to say about lead gen, but I do want to ask, did anybody have anything they'd like to share after their lead gen? Did anybody get someone on the phone, or did you get someone who was looking for a house? I'd love to hear if we have at least 1 or 2 people who might have had a success just now. Yeah, Leslie, to see you. Go ahead.
Hi. So I actually went to So I have picked up 2 leads today. I just got one on the phone.
Awesome.
Just and this is a second person from last night. Last night I did get one. But when I went to take my headshots today, it was interesting because the lady asked me what was I taking the headshots for, and I told her I had just become a real estate agent, and she told me that her and her husband were looking to buy a home. So I actually got all of her information. She's already told me
Yes,
what area she's trying to move into and everything.
That's
love it.
awesome. I love that serendipity of just being like, oh, what are you getting a headshot for? Oh, actually, let me tell
Yes,
you. That's
yes.
fantastic. Congratulations. So happy for
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah. Does anybody else get any successes just now? And okay, if you can put it in the chat too, that's fine as well.
I don't know if mine is a success, but I sent out a blast on Messenger
Mhm.
to a lot of folks, 20 different people, and
Nice.
2 people responded, and she definitely said that she's looking for a home. She just doesn't want to do it right now, but she
Mhm.
says I will keep, because I sent my business card attached to the communication, and so she says, but I'm going to keep that, and she thinks that she knows someone that might want to start sooner.
Oh, that's awesome. That definitely sounds like a success. That's great. I also love the idea of sending your business card as a photo attachment because I feel like it's so, like I said, I used to work in admissions and I can't tell you how many times I'd give my card out to students who came up to me at a college fair. And then I'm leaving the college fair an hour later, my business card is lying on the ground. And it's just so depressing because it's got like footprints all over it and all this. So that's so great that you have thought about a way to kind of keep it connected with them where it's not as easy to lose. So I love that. Congratulations.
Yeah,
And I just want to say,
every lead I have, I attach it to every, when we move, like if it's on some sort of platform that I'm using, when I finally move to communicating via text or something or email, I always make sure, especially text, because email, you can attach it to your signature and it's always there. But I always, on a text, when I first get a lead and we move to that, communication or something, I always connect my business card. And that way they always have it. It's not like, oh, what did I do with her card? They pull up that feed.
Awesome.
and I just want to say, you said you weren't sure if it was a success. Amanda, I just heard 2 successes because you have someone that says, I want to buy a house or I want to sell my house, but not right now. All right, great. Nurture that relationship and come back to it. But I might also know someone. That sounds like 2 to me. So great job.
Oh, well, there's more than that. I mean,
Oh, you muted yourself.
I consider that more so. The other 2 that I heard, they live in their homes. I already knew that, but they said that they, if they come across anyone, they will make sure that they share that. So
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. Awesome. So the one thing I wanted to say about lead gen, I know it's not necessarily most agents' favorite thing, but it is super important, and it's really important that we do time block it on our calendars each day, Monday through Friday, making sure that you make time for it. I know someone earlier had said, don't erase it, replace it. That's a great way to think about it. The other thing I want to say about that is making sure that you're fully prepped before that time block of lead gen begins. So if you say you want to do lead gen from 9 until 11 a.m. every day, that means at 9 a.m. you're actually on the phone talking to people. You've already collected your lists of people that you plan to talk to. You've already got your coffee. You have your notes put together. Everything's ready to go, because if you spend the first 30 minutes getting coffee and finding out, okay, who do I want to talk to today? That's going to take up 30 minutes of your time when you could have been connecting with people. So I would say prep before the block, make sure that you actually do have all those things ready to go so that you are ready to be successful right away. So I just wanted to mention that as well, but congratulations to everybody who already had successes. We're super happy for you. So we're going to go ahead and actually shift a little bit now from lead generation to database. Now, obviously these things are incredibly connected. It's not like these are separate. Your database is really the way that you're going to be able to successfully do your lead generation, because this is what really centrally organizes everything for you. So if you took the time to meet someone, take down their phone number and their email address, put it in your phone, then they were clearly important enough for you to collect. And if you put them in your phone with just a name and an email, 4 weeks from now, are you really going to remember who that person is anymore? Probably not. Or even worse, if you write it down on a piece of paper, or if you write it down on a napkin, which I am definitely notorious for, a couple weeks from now, you're not necessarily going to remember who that person is anymore. So getting them into a database allows you to actually include extra information like, what did they look like? Where did you meet them? Things like that, that'll help you remember them, those signifiers that tell you who they are. It's also something that you want to update regularly. So this is not something that you put it in and forget it. You want to make sure you're constantly adding notes as you see these people again in the future. And you also want to think about ways that you can actually organize these things to meet your specific needs. So I'll show you, actually, we're going to go into Command and I'm going to show you a couple ways that you can do this. But having things like tags. So if you want to find, for example, all your buyers at once, that's something you can do. If you want to find all these people who are interested in a certain neighborhood, especially if you're working with a farm technique for lead gen, you can actually add those tags and organize it in a way that makes it easier for you to then use your database to help you through your business. And then, of course, your lead generation feeds that database too. So while you're doing lead generation, you're, of course, putting those people into your database, but it also tells you who to contact throughout the year, because it reminds you that these are people you need to now follow up with. So using that database to kind of hit all of those things is super important. We actually know, research has shown that about 6% of people in your database, if it's a well-tended database and you really nurture it well, about 6% of the people in there will actually convert to business within the year. So let's say you have 100 people in your database, which is actually pretty small, because I think if a lot of you opened your phone right now and looked at your contacts, you probably have more than 300 people just in your phone contacts. But if, let's say you have 100 people in your database, 6% of that is 6 people that then will turn into business. So it's important to really know that the power of your database, the size of your database really translates to the size of your bank account within this way. So that's why it's super important to be collecting these things as you go through. So we showed you the models already. You kind of know some of this stuff already, but I want to touch on a couple things with that as well. So within so we talked about prospecting and marketing. Those are the ways that you can actually find your contacts and things. But there's a reason that leads and contacts within that database section are separate. So they might just seem like people that you want to talk to get business, but they actually are very different because of the way that you're chatting with them. With a lead, you actually have contact information. You have their email and their phone number, but you don't necessarily have a relationship with them yet. They haven't given you permission to talk to them on a regular basis necessarily, but you know that who they are and you have their contact information. So the way you're looking at these is that you don't know their motivation, but you can probably infer it. Like maybe the person who lives down the street is thinking about buying, you have their phone number and their email address. But again, it's one way right now. So the communication that you use to reach out to them is going to be used to really elicit a response. You're looking for them to respond back to you. So maybe you're saying, hi, like my name is Melissa. I just got my real estate license. I'm super excited to be working with people. Are you thinking about moving soon? I know that, Frankie, your oldest son, just graduated college. He's moving out. I know you have a 5-bedroom house. Now, this is a little specific maybe, but you don't want to be creepy, obviously. But if you do know that person, you can have those conversations and you're basically looking for them to respond to you that they are actually interested in buying or selling or working with you. So the conversation is to get a response. On the other side, you'll see contacts. Contacts are people who have given you permission. They have responded to you before, and it's a two-way conversation at this point. So maybe, for example, we talked about earlier how someone was wearing their name tag when they were in line at the grocery store, and someone asked them about it, and then they said, oh, I'm in real estate. Can I give you my business card? That person took the business card, and now there's a permission to be reaching out back and forth because they said, oh, I'm actually thinking about buying an investment property in a couple months. Yeah, I'd love to take your business card. Now that person is a contact because they've given you permission to actually start that relationship with them. So it's really important to see the difference of this. And we'll actually go into a little bit more about why that's important and just actually right now. So the thing I want to talk about here is we talked about the difference in the type of communication that we have between leads and contacts, but there's also completely different strategies as well. So with leads, research has shown that it takes about 19 touches to connect with a lead. So to actually start that conversation and convert them into a contact. These 19 touches look like quarterly phone calls, that's 4 touches. Maybe those quarterly phone calls are just, hey, I'm reaching out to you. I wanted to see if you were interested in buying a house or selling a house. So having that phone call. Then you also have monthly emails, newsletters, market reports, maybe a video you send out. One of the things that we actually heard about at that Triple Your Business, Love Your Life session that we went to last week with Jason Abrams was he talked about someone who creates a video every week, and it could be market updates or it could just be stuff going on in the neighborhood, but it's a video that they send out monthly, and then that gives you that opportunity to connect with that person. They also do recommend doing promotional direct mail. These could be things like magnets, calendars, market reports. The magnets and the calendars in particular are really great because you want to think about direct mail items or direct things that you're sending that have a long shelf life. So for example, a calendar or a magnet, someone's going to put that on their refrigerator and that could sit there for 12 months. Or if it's a magnet, it could sit there forever. So something that people are going to use that stays there for a long time so that you're always top of mind. Sending something like just a postcard is great if the postcard is like really pretty and they want to keep that, but it's not necessarily going to stick around for very long, whereas things like those calendars and magnets would. So just something to think about, but sending those 2 times a year. And then the last thing is actually having an event. That could be an annual event. It could be a party, a movie screening, some type of get together that you have. Something that you might want to consider even is having something like a Zoom meeting. I know right now it's really tough with the pandemic. I think we're starting to come out of it a little bit, but obviously not quite. I mean, right now we're on Zoom, right? But if you think about some type of like, maybe you have your preferred lender that you work with partner with you and they say, okay, we're going to talk about types of mortgages. And that's something that people are interested in if they're thinking about buying a house. So maybe you post that you're going to be having this event and anybody is welcome. That's an event that you could hold that's completely virtual and you get all these people's contact information, and that's something that you're doing that also provides value. So ultimately, those are the touches. It's the 4, 12, 2, 1, which equals out to 19 touches to convert a lead to a contact. Now, once they actually are a contact, there's actually 36 touches that you would do in order to convert them to actual business. So it's a little bit similar to the leads in some of these pieces, like you have those 4 touches for the telephone calls, which again are those quarterly calls. You have 26 touches, which are now bi-weekly emails, maybe offering some type of information that's helpful. I know, for example, there's a smart plan and command that you can set up that sends bi-weekly emails about neighborhood updates. So like if you know that the person is interested in moving to a neighborhood that's across town, you can actually set up a smart plan that automatically sends emails with cost, with different prices for the area and different information that they can look at, different properties that are available. And that's not even something you have to do. All you do is set it up and let it be, and you never have to look at it again. But that person is getting it on a bi-weekly basis and is bi-weekly reminded that you're in real estate, that you're providing them this value, and that once they're ready, it's right there in their inbox within 2 weeks of the time they think they're ready. So I think that's something to really think about there. Then the 2 touches is things like events and get-togethers and parties. So you can see this is a little bit more frequent for those people who've already given you permission to really get in touch with you. And then the last thing is 4 touches, which are the promotional items like the mail, magnet, calendar, those types of things. So with the contacts, we're saying that it's the 4, 26, 2, 4, which leads out to the 36 touches there. Now I want to actually, and you might have all seen this last night as well, but I do want to show you really quickly why it's actually important to have all these touches throughout the year. So I think you all can see my whiteboard right now. Yes, awesome. So like I said, you probably saw this last night, but I want to show you it again. It's this wave of when people are interested in buying, and please excuse this. I know it's not super neat, but that's okay. So what you have is a wave of when people are ready to buy or sell a house. So at the top here, this is when somebody has bought a house and maybe you're like really excited, you just helped them buy a house, it's been really great. And then there's going to be this about 5 to 7 year gap with a trough where they're no longer interested in buying a house. And then again, you're going to get to the crest again where they're ready to buy a house again. They might throughout here be interested in things like investment properties. They might be interested in just learning about the neighborhood and the value of their house. So it's really important that you're staying in contact with people throughout this time within throughout these waves, so that you're not losing them. Because I will tell you, and Alana might have shared this story with you already, but when she was an agent, she actually had her brother who lives in California. He mentioned over dinner one night, he's like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna buy a house. I've been talking to an agent. And she was like, what? I'm an agent. Why didn't you talk to me? I could have referred you to somebody and got a commission and all this stuff. And he's like, oh, I just forgot you were in real estate. And she was like, how could you possibly forget that I'm in real estate when I'm your sister? So I think we all assume that people are just going to remember that we're in real estate, and it's just not going to happen. So staying in contact with them throughout the crests and troughs and things is so important, so that they're always top of mind for you. So I just wanted to show that really quickly to give you an idea of what that looks like. I'm going to go back to the presentation now. Does anybody have any questions so far about anything, or any ahas so far that they'd like to share? If not, that's okay. I'm actually going to now move forward to show you how to actually use Command. So for those of you who might be newer to KW, Command is really your tool for using things like your database. Obviously, I think that's the biggest piece of Command. It also does help you with things like creating postcards and flyers and presentations. So it has a designs feature as well. It has all kinds of things to make your life easier as an agent. And this is free for you as a KW agent. So just to know that you do have this. I'm going to give you a demonstration on how to manage your database specifically in Command. So we're going to go through how to add a contact. We're going to go through adding those custom tags. I'll show you smart views, interactions, and the last thing is smart plans. So if anybody has questions throughout this, definitely let me know. But I'm going to go ahead and actually switch from the presentation to my, I'm actually already logged into Command. Where did it go? There. I'm going to switch over here. Okay. And like I said, this is recorded, so if it's a little fast for you, that's fine. You'll get to see it again. And there's also so many videos about how to use the different KW tools as well, whether you're looking on YouTube or Scott Leroy Marketing, or if you're looking at KW Connect. There's so many ways for you to actually get to see videos for this kind of stuff, but I do want to show you all while we're here as well. So right now we're looking at My Command, and the first thing I want to show you is actually how to add a contact. So what you do is you actually come over here at the top right and you click Add Contact. So you're going to go ahead and put someone's name in here. I'm going to put Hermione Granger for all my Harry Potter fans out there. I do know her email address, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in. I'm just going to add random email that I'm creating for Hermione, and then her phone number, and as much information really as you have is best, because it's going to make it so much easier for you later on when you're trying to remember this person, when you're trying to reach out to them very quickly. Like I said, you can add tags as well. So maybe I know that she lives in, and I don't actually remember, but I'm going to say Little Winging is where she lives. So that's the neighborhood that she's connected to.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Are any of these fields, other than the name, are they mandatory?
I don't believe any of them. So the ones that have a star next to them are actually mandatory, and only the full name is mandatory.
Okay, I didn't see that when you did that, but
yeah,
okay.
No problem. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that the most information that you can provide is best, but if you don't have it, totally fine. So, and there's also options to add even additional information if you'd like to, like if you really know a lot about this person. For example, if you know they prefer text, or if you know they prefer email, then you can choose those different things. If you know that their current address, that's a great way to go. One thing I will say about adding contacts is it is always better to reach out to the person to fill in these blanks than just to Google it. One, because it's more accurate, but two, it's a great way to start the conversation. You know, if you reach out to them and say, hey, I know you said you were interested in those emails about the neighborhood you're thinking about. I just wanted to make sure I have the right information for you. Do you have a second to give me your phone number, your preferred contact, your email, your street address? All of that's going to make it so much easier, and it's a great conversation starter. So just something to think about there as well. So once you've got
that I like, oh, sorry.
No,
Melissa,
go for it.
what I like is there's a spot where you can select, like show how they're related to people, like that you already have contacts. So if you get, the relationships. So if you have a friend of yours or, something that says, oh, this is my brother-in-law, you can actually say like brother-in-law or sister-in-law is so-and-so. And so like, you can then, don't tell Ron, you can then show how they're connected and remember that too for your own notes. If you want to remember when you're looking at, oh, I got this contact through this person, or they know this person, because then when you reach out, you could say, oh, our mutual friend so-and-so, and that just gives you another piece to potentially connect on.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. I think that's great. So once you've finished filling out all the contact information, you go ahead and click create. So at this point, we've done custom tags and contacts. I do also want to show you how to do smart views within your contacts. So if you, for example, have a certain preference for how you're looking at your database, you can do that by doing things like customize your columns. So for example, if you want last contacted to be up higher, or if you want to add certain columns, for example, maybe you want to see, like, let's say you're working with a specific, okay, so let's say you're trying to send out birthday cards or something like that. You know, that's something you do on a regular basis. Maybe you want to have that checked off, or maybe you're trying to see who's reaching retirement age and might be thinking about actually like looking for a retirement home or moving. Having that column is something that you could do. And you can think about the different types of things that you'd like to do with this, but you do have the ability to change those. And once you do that, you can just click apply. And then that will automatically update your the way that you see your contacts here on your homepage within the contact section. So the other thing that you can do within your contacts is add what are called interactions. So if you actually go and click on the contact's name, this will take you to kind of their homepage within your database. So you can see all this information that we just put in. So things like the phone number, the email address, all of that. But you can also add interactions. So really what that's going to be is these notes. So if you click notes along the top here and click add notes, this is where, if, for example, if you called them, let's say you had a phone call, then you could say little facts about the person that you might have learned. Like, let's say Hermione got a new cat. So you can say got a new cat. Or let's say you found out she's going, she just got a new job with the Ministry of Magic. You can do those types of things and save that, and then it will save it within the actual contact. The reason that this is helpful is not only just so you know more about the people that you're working with, but also because when you're talking to that person a month from now and you say, hey, I remember you said you just got a new cat, like, how's that going? You know, that shows that person that you care about them. People like working with people that they like. They feel like you actually have this personal connection with them. The other things it tells you is if you're paying attention to these little details, like the person just got a cat, it will kind of subconsciously tell them that if they work with you as an agent, you're going to pay attention to the little details that make it right for them when you're actually working for them. So you're going to pay attention to what they're looking for within the houses that they want. You're going to pay attention to making sure that you're getting the pricing right for their CMA for the house they're selling. These little details show that you care about the people you work with, and they might seem so small and insignificant, but it's a feeling that you're giving that person that they actually do matter. I think I saw, did somebody raise their hand?
Yes, Amanda did.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Amanda.
And I want to apologize. I wasn't on here last night, so I might, I don't know, some things I may be asking you may have already talked about. So you're adding in here right now these contacts.
Mm-hmm.
So the 20 folks that I just sent out messages to, right? And now, and I've got 5 now that have responded. Would I put them in here?
Yeah, absolutely. I would
Okay.
definitely put those people in.
Okay, but not the whole 20, just the ones that I've heard back from.
Actually, so I would recommend putting all of the contacts that you have in your phone into Command or whatever
That's
database you're using.
too many.
Well, so there's actually ways to do it that are much easier. So for example,
Can you import them?
Yeah. So there's actually an app that you can download called SA Contacts Lite. Rachel, if you don't mind just putting it in the chat for them to see.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So that's an app you can download on your phone. It's for Androids and iPhones. And it will actually take all the contacts in your phone and create an Excel file that you can then email to yourself.
Okay, like a CSV file.
Yep. And if
Okay.
your market center works with Scott Leroy Marketing, ours does. I don't know if all of them do, but if they do, they will actually import that Excel file for you. So you don't even have to take the time to put it into Command. Now, if you don't have
I
that,
can do it myself.
Yeah, that's fine too.
Okay.
And then,
Thank you.
yeah, and then those 20 people or those a couple people that raised their hands saying they're interested in, I would actually go into those specific contacts and put notes that they're interested too.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Great question. No, yeah, you're welcome. That was great. And yeah, I mean, if anybody else has questions, definitely feel free to raise your hand or whatever, and we can get those too. Okay, so I'm actually going to pause here and go back to our slides. I want to show you all a little bit more before we go forward. So we're going to go to, I'm skipping forward a little bit, I know, but I want to go to this slide here. And the reason I want to go here is because I want to show you that we're in that final segment of the database that's in your sales pipeline. So we've moved down from the leads and the contacts with the database, and we're in that sales pipeline section now. And these are the people where you've done your prospecting and your marketing, and you've done those lead generation activities already. You've brought your leads and contacts into your database, and you've kind of created these touch campaigns already where you know you're reaching out to them and following up with them. And at this point, now they're in the actual sales pipeline where they are ready to actually go through the business of everything. So we want to actually at this point win the appointment that will launch them to the new goal of a closed transaction. So we actually do have smart plans that you can use to help you through this piece as well, that'll help you cultivate with them and stay in contact with them and help you really leverage that follow-up that we were talking about as well. So I do want to show you those smart plans as well within Command too, because those are so helpful. I know I mentioned specifically the one for the neighborhoods, so I will show you that one. But let me go ahead and go back to that slide. I know I'm flipping back and forth. So, but within here, we'll go back to your contacts. And let's say we want to add Hermione to a smart plan. So what you can do is actually come over here to these three little dots, and you have the ability to then add to smart plan. So these are ones you've actually already saved. Let me actually show you something else first. So within the applets that are on the left here, you have so just in case you're not aware, if you click this red KW at the top left, it'll show you which each of these applets mean. So if you don't remember what they mean, you can see the title next to it. But smart plans is the third from the top, or fourth from the top. And it shows you all of the ones that are within the library. And this is where you can find ones that have already been created by other people. So let's say you're interested in the neighborhood one. You can also just browse these in general, just look at the most popular ones. But when you're looking at these smart plans, there's a couple things that I recommend checking out to choose from when you're looking at the ones you want to add. So you want to look at how many stars they have and how many people have given them those stars. So this one says that there have been 64 people that said it had about 5.5 stars, 4.5 stars, which is really good. You see 56,000 agents are using it. So that's a pretty popular one that people are using. It shows you how many steps are in the smart plan. This one has 3. And it shows you what those touches are. So it's a 1-point touch, but it's every other week, basically. So if you click add smart plan, it becomes part of your own smart plans that you can choose from that you can add to your contacts. So you do have to add it to your specific library first. I already have added it, so I can't download it again, but that's what you would do to make sure that it's connected to your own command. Now, if you wanted to, just look at like all kinds of different ones without any specific searching. You could always look at the filters that'll come up here. So for example, let's say you want one that is really popular. You can choose how many agents are using it. Or maybe you only want to see ones that are 5 stars or 4 stars. Probably 4 stars is more realistic because most people don't think everything is perfect, but it helps you kind of determine which smart plans might be the best for you when you're setting them up for your clients. So I did want to show you that. But for example, for Hermione, you have this ability to add now her to a neighborhood smart plan. When this comes up, it does get slower with the Zoom. So you would just click add to smart plan, and we have my neighborhood nurture one here. So I'm going to select that and start now, and then confirm. So this one includes text messages in it. So I don't have Twilio connected with my command. Twilio is the messaging system that you can connect to your command. So something, if you want to do that, you can. There's all kinds of different ways that you can leverage it to your choosing, but it's good to know that these are all available to you basically. So any questions about any of that so far? And if not, that is also fine.
I'll also say if you're someone like me that is thinking about like moving in the next couple of years, potentially to a new area, set yourself up for it.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
what like someone gets. I mean, you can set yourself up for any of these if you want to see what it looks like. But I did that for myself just to kind of get an idea of like what it looks like when it comes. And so I know what I'm like recommending when I work with agents about setting up smart plans. So it can be helpful.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely sent myself those too. So I even thought about setting them up for my parents who are thinking about maybe moving to like South Carolina or something in the next 10 years or so. So yeah, definitely good for yourself too. And it's a great way to practice as well. That's the thing. Put as many fake people into your contacts as possible so that you get the opportunity to practice this. You can't break it. So use, your own email, use yourself, use different iterations, nicknames for yourself so that you see what it looks like before you start using it on other people too. So that's a great way to think about it. So at this point, we want to transition to seeing if anybody has any ahas. I know last night that I think Alana had mentioned that AHA stands for Agent Helping Agent. So this is your opportunity to share what maybe you've gotten from tonight, anything, or even last night, things that you have really stuck with you that you're going to put into place, or just something that you never had thought of before. So I'd love to hear from maybe 1 or 2 people out loud. You're welcome to put it in the chat as well. But I am going to pause to see if anybody has anything that they'd like to share for ahas.
I would like to share.
Yeah,
This is
go for it.
Kendrick. I'm a retired federal employee, and another agent always tell me, like, Kendra, you have an amazing spirit. Like, you just got to work it. And I'm like, no, I don't. But in tonight, thinking about it, like, I retired from bankruptcy, so I have a lot of attorney contacts. And when you have people that are in bankruptcy that need to liquidate their assets, houses, hey, I'm that person. So I was like, I do have an amazing spirit. So now I have a new way of trying to contact, and we have good relationship because of, the business that I was in and retired from. So
that's great. I love that it's a professional network too, because they've seen you be successful in your career over your entire career. You have all this experience. They know that you're great. So they already know that they'd be happy to refer someone to you because they know your track record basically. So that's fantastic. I love that. Yeah. I see Leslie put in the chat, the AHA for her is the touches with leads and contacts. So kind of creating that communication plan with the different types of people that you have in your database. I love that. And then Woody said connecting with the divorce lawyer for referrals is clutch. Yep, totally agree. Awesome.
My aha moment is for the smart plans. I've heard about it, like, just going through different sitting on different trainings, but I really didn't understand like how it worked and how to, I guess, incorporate it with the database. So it's really like interesting to learn like they work together. They work together. You just, once you start adding contacts to your database, it'll, work out, and it kind of does the work for you for the most part, so that you're not having to remember everybody that you once reached out to and to follow up with them. One thing I'm curious about, do you know, of course, just starting to build a database, do you know if they have any of those, I guess, smart plans for like, I guess, hey, I'm a new agent, and then follow up from there. Do you know they have any of those?
Yes.
Oh,
They
okay.
do. Yeah, there is one in there. It's like basically like letting people know you're an agent now. So absolutely. I love that you thought
Oh,
of that.
I need to figure that out. Is that, do you think it's under the neighborhood?
Let me
You could search
see.
for like new agent or something.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, if I can search like that, that's awesome. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other, you can also create your own smart plans. It's so much easier just to not reinvent the wheel and find the ones that other people have created. But if you are really not finding the thing that you know you want to do, totally you can create your own as well. And I will, since I'm the one responsible for sending you the emails each day after Ignite, I will make sure to add a smart plan tutorial with that as well.
Oh, that'll
It'll
be great.
Yeah, it'll be step by step and the actual videos that KW has created, so that if you have questions about it, things like that, you're welcome to, but I'll send those in the email too. Awesome. Okay. Well, I see somebody, Corey has the overview of the tools that are available in Command. Yeah, and I think that's such a nice benefit for you all to have access to Command for free. Obviously, you can use whatever database you want. You don't have to use Command. It's just a free tool, which is really nice to be able to have. And it makes life so much easier. I mean, there's even smart plans out there that have text messages that they'll send for you. So you don't even have to do those by yourself. So I know one of you said that you sent out a mass text message. Maybe you do that through Command next time so that it's a little easier. So just so many powerful tools there for you as well. Okay, so
Can I just,
go ahead.
oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I just share, you all have Melissa's email and she'll be sending, additional stuff out. I just want to share that I can also be a resource. And so I'm going to put my email into the chat so you have it as well, since you won't be getting an email from me. You are welcome, of course, to reach out to me as well.
Yeah, and if you happen to have not gotten an email from me over the last 2 days, please email me so that I know, because it's possible you might have gotten the link without signing up through Eventbrite. So please let me know, and I will definitely add you to the email list for that. Just a couple housekeeping items as well. The email that I send out after each class is going to include a feedback form. So we would love to hear what you guys thought about classes. I know some of our trainers that are within the Ignite session are trying to become certified trainers as well. So they are looking for as many feedback forms as they possibly can get. And we would so appreciate hearing what you all thought, because that also helps us just make things better in the future. So look out for that in the email too. And other than that, I will send out the email. It'll probably be tomorrow, not tonight, because it's already 7:25. But we so appreciate everyone coming tonight. It was so great seeing you all. Rachel, is there anything that you wanted to add?
No, if there's any final questions, I'm sure Melissa and I will probably stick around for another minute, but otherwise, I don't think there's anything.
Awesome. All right. Yep. So we'll stay, like Rachel said, we'll stay for another couple minutes if you have questions, but otherwise we hope you have a wonderful rest of your night, and this recording will be on YouTube in the next couple days. So hope you have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.